Okay, today we are going to be doing lesson 5-4, dividing multiples of 10. And you can find this on page 126 in your book. And the question I'm going to have you write on a new page in your spiral is this. Clamor soccer team, which is the best soccer team, has $160 to buy uniforms that cost $20 each. How many uniforms can your team buy? Well, let's highlight our numbers that we're going to need so we know that our soccer team has $160 and each jersey costs $20. So our problem wants to know how many uniforms can your team buy? Well, in order to figure that out, we need to take 20 divided into 160. Okay, you can do this one of two ways. You can do it the longer way, which you can say, how many times does 20 go into 160? Because it can't just go into this 16, we have to take it into the whole 160. Or you can say they both end in a 0, so I'm going to take 1 0 away from each side, because whatever I do over here, I have to do the same thing over here. I have to treat them equally. So if I take away a 0 here, I take away a 0 here. Now I say, how many times does 2 go into 16? Yes, 8 times, and 8 times 2 is 16. So my answer here would be 8 uniforms. And don't forget your label. Okay, now I'm going to go back and just change the problem slightly. And I'm going to erase how much money we have, and I'm going to up it by $8. So now we have $168, and each jersey or each uniform will still cost $20 each. So now our multiplication problem will look a little different. It will look like $168 divided into 20. Now, we can't mark off zeros because we don't have any zeros to mark off, except over here, but there's none over here. So if we can't do it evenly, we can't do it at all. So we need to say, how many times does 20 go into 168? Well, let's see how many times 20 plus it, or added to itself, gives us a number that's close to 168. So I'm going to flip the page, and we're just going to start doing our 2 facts. So we're going to say 2 times 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, 6, 8, 10. Well, if all these are 20s, we know that this equals 100 so far. And remember, we need to get 168. So now let's do 20, 40, 60. Okay, that gives us 60. So 100 plus 60. Right now we have 160. Can we add another 20 to this to get closer to 168? No, because if we add another 20, we're going to go up to 180, and that is way too big, because we're trying to get to 168. So let's see how many 20s we used. We used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So how many jerseys could we get? Well, 20 can go into 168. We just said 8 times. 8 times 20 gave us 160. And then we have a remainder of 8. So in this case, our answer would be 8 uniforms, and we would have $8 left over. That's our remainder, is this $8. Okay, now here's a word problem for you, and this up here is just information for you to have to solve this problem. So my problem to you is, Lily's family is moving from Grand Junction to Dallas. The van that is moving them averages 60 miles an hour. About how many hours does it take for the family to reach their new home in Dallas? All right, and we know from up here that from Dallas to Grand Junction is 980 miles. And her family is moving at about 60 miles an hour. And the main question they're asking is about how many hours does it take for the family to reach their new home. The main word is about. We're not asking for compatible numbers. We're just asking for you to estimate. So, what would we do to solve this problem? Yes, we would divide. Now, you need to ask yourself, do we divide or do we change this number of 980? Do we round it yet? Or do we wait until we get the answer to round the answer? So, we round the answer. We do not do anything with that 980 yet. So all we're doing is saying 980 divided into 60. So we need to ask ourselves, how many times does 60 go into 98? Just once. 1 times 60. And then 98 minus 60 gives us 38. We have to drop down this 0 and ask ourselves, how many times does 60 go into 380? Well, I don't know my 60s off the top of my head, but I know that I can write out my 60 facts over here to the side. So I did that, and I'm trying to figure out how many times does 60 go into 380. So what number can I get closest to that's closest to 380? Well, right here, 6 times 60 is 360. So we're going to say that 60 goes in there 6 times. 6 times 60 is 360. And we get a remainder of 20. So if we go back to our question, we're trying to figure out about how many hours does it take the family to reach their new home in Dallas? Well, about how many does it take? It takes Lily's family about 16 hours because this 20 would be 20 minutes, and that's not even a half an hour, so we would round down. So we would just say 16 hours, about 16 hours. You will have you will have about 2 problems kind of like this, 2 or 3 word problems like this on your practice tomorrow. So be ready for that. And one is asking you to estimate like we did here, and we're not estimating until the end, until we get to this number here. Okay, we're going to do one more problem together, and then you are going to try some on your own. So in this one, I'm going to say that right now we have 249 students, and we're going to go on a field trip to, let's go to the St. Louis Zoo. And 1 bus is needed for every 20 students. So we need 1 bus for every 20 kids. And I want to know how many buses are needed for this field trip. We have 249 kids, but we need 1 bus for every 20 kids, or 1 bus can hold 20 kids. So what would I need to do to solve this problem? Division, yes. So I would have to say we have 249 kids divided by 20 kids on 1 bus. So I'm going to flip the page and write that exact problem. So I need to ask myself, how many times does 20 go into 24? 1 time. 1 times 20. And then we get 4. Drop down our 9. How many times does 20 go into 49? Twice. 2 times 20 is 40. Now we have a remainder 9. So our answer is 12 remainder 9. But if we go back and look, I wanted to know how many buses we need for all of the kids. Well, we know for sure we need 12 buses. We're going to have 12 full buses. But are you going to be mean and leave these 9 kids back at school? No, we got to put them on another bus. So in my question, the answer I would be looking for is we would need 13, excuse the law. We would need 13 buses because we don't want to leave these 9 people back at school. That'd be a bummer. So I would like you to try on page 126 and 127 problems number 15, 18, and 25. 25 is a word problem, so don't let that freak you out. Try your best. Work with the numbers you know and see what you get. And then bring that work tomorrow to show me. We'll look over it, and if you have any questions, as always, bring them to me, and we'll talk about them in class. So go ahead and do those, and I'll have the problems or the answers on the next page. See you tomorrow. So for number 15, you should get 7, remainder 67. 18, you should get 12, remainder 4. And for 25, you should get about, make sure it says about because you estimated, about 18 hours.